Excellent. Thanks very much. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for coming so early on a Thursday morning. I don't really work much, so for me, it's every day is early. What I'm going to do is, I have very different kind of formats, so I thought maybe I can just run a short film. It's like a 7-minute film if you guys can sit through it. It'll give you an overall, it's not edited for this presentation, but it'll give you an overall idea about what I do. The trouble with a lot of these missions in life which we talk about, that you want to go and educate people or want to go do some charity work or give your skills or whatever it is, the trouble is always how do you fund it? And more importantly, people who have regular jobs, just can't take off for a month or whatever, and this is not trying to get off the guilt that you go spend a weekend in Nepal and come back and say I went and taught something, because it doesn't really work that way. You need to give a lot more time to it. The way I have figured out is I used to work as a photographer. I used to do advertising and commercial work, and I came to Dubai. I set up a film company right here in Media City 10-12 years back when it just started. And I basically corporatized my work, where I basically put a team of people who were working on it, and I would just interface with the client maybe once a month. And so that meant that I had 3 weeks off to do my own projects. So let me just start one little film which will give you an idea. And the reason I want you to see this film is that this is one film, or this project actually funded a lot of stuff which you'll see later on in the film. And it also is for people who haven't been in Dubai for too long. They would be quite amused to see the visuals, what I have done in this place. So just give me a second. This is what Burj site looked like about 12 years back. I basically came here to work on the Dubai Marina, because I used to do a lot of aerial films. So I used to do a lot of aerial films, and that's how I was working on the marina, and then I heard that they're going to build the world's tallest tower. So I went in there. It took me about 6 months to sell the idea, but we finally got the entire project, and we set up 5 cameras on Sheikh Zayed Road, and we did a time-lapse film on it. And then we did a lot of other work, which was obviously, other than aerial, we spent a lot of time in China, where we worked on the cladding. Went and worked in Giorgio Armani's studio, where when they were setting up their first hotel in the tower. So there were a lot of things which were really driven by us, by my team, which made sure that we got a really huge pie on the creative process. Dubai also suffered like a lot of developing countries suffer. Earlier was, you build something and then you call someone to take pictures or make a video out on it. We basically managed to sell it that you should really document it as making of history, which is something which can be used by students, town planners, architects, and create an entire resource center. A lot of this material ended up on Nat Geo, and of course when you go into the observatory deck, there's a lot of stuff which is showcased there. So this just to give you an idea of what I was doing. This is what I really do otherwise. This is Bhopal, which you guys may know about. It's the Union Carbide disaster, which happened 30 years back. Till date, 25,000 people have been dead, and Dow Chemical, which owns it, hasn't really done much about it. So I created a 40-foot container, which was a train journey of that night. And we basically have traveled with this to many cities. It was shown during by Amnesty International during the London Olympics. We just closed it in Rome on 2nd of December, which was 30th year of Bhopal disaster. These kind of projects actually also go to educational institutions where we put it in a common area, and children basically go through this process where it's a recreation of a train journey of that night. And what it was like. It's temperature controlled, it's got a sound piece, and it of course has multi-dimensional images. It doesn't have what I call as disaster pornography, because there's no pictures of people suffering and all that. It's more, I would say, sensory, where you actually walk through it. This is another show, Outpost, which I work with mining community near Burma. These are all sculptures, again working with the community, and this is what we finally produced, were these very large metal works. This was shown at the Venice Biennale last year, and again this year at the Venice Architecture Biennale. Hopefully we'll bring this to Dubai in the coming year. This is another project I've worked with a Burmese tribe in northeast part of India. It's a dying community. There are only about 1,500 of them left now, and I've helped set up a small education program there, helped build a monastery, and also reviving some textiles.
Well, you wonder what is sustainability and capacity building to do with an artist?
So this is where this project is. It's cut off by a river. This is a small ecotourism project we set up with solar panels on the top. It's owned and run entirely by the tribe. And the reason I work in this area is because there are a lot of coal mines in this region, and my work is really about conflict issues, that how this whole urbanization and consumption culture, how it marginalizes people, their way of life, their land rights, their water rights. This is my photography projects, which I work on. Basically, I work in developing countries. I work with children between 8 and 12, and they are kids who are obviously coming from schools where a lot of times you don't even have basic classrooms. And I've been basically creating this model, which is, I do about 3 to 4 workshops a year, and they are basically, I have 50 cameras, so thankfully it's digital now, so I don't have to carry all the chemicals and all. And the way it works is I spend first 2 days doing workshops, which are more drama workshops, where we identify kids for their ability. And I'm not interested in the bright kid. I'm not interested in the most creative child, because that kid will get through in any case. This is really an exercise for confidence building and empowerment. So you are actually looking at children within these classrooms or these group of kids who are actually marginalized within their group, basically. So it takes 2 days to get that identification business, because obviously I don't speak the language in a lot of these places. And then it follows for a week. They basically start taking pictures, and they're very trigger happy, because all of a sudden it's a digital camera, and they were never photographs, and all of a sudden they're all photographers. So the process goes on, and then we have assembly, and where we display all their work, and then they get these prizes. And I take these images back, I bring them back to New York or here or in Bombay, and we have an exhibition of their work. And there's a small little story, and these pictures sell for $100, $200, and that money goes back to the school, which basically helps in raising, buying stationery and school supplies. So it's really as simple as that. I think that's really it. So any questions, go for it. Yeah. Thank you.
Wonderful work. Have you done any photography workshops in this region? In the Middle East?
No, not in the Middle East. I mean, I've done something with, actually, in 2 years, I've done a couple of workshops at Manzil. It's a school for children with special needs in Sharjah. So we've basically done pictures, and then they've had an exhibition, and we have also done a calendar for them. So, sometimes I feel that in certain places, let's say Dubai, where perception is that there's enough money and all that stuff. There are, of course, a lot of children who are struggling. The way it works for Manzil is that I'm really working on a brand building exercise for them, because when they go meet these corporates, something they can leave behind, and it's a very beautifully designed small little calendar with help with some friends. So that's what I do in this part of the world. Yeah.
I have a quick one. Samar, how hard is it when you've obviously made this work through your business. How hard was it at the start to sell this idea that you're running a business, but you're also got these other pursuits, and you were the sort of the liaison between the corporate contracts and the actual activation of it? How hard was it to do that?
Yeah, I think, the biggest trouble with creative people is that, which I really suffer too, you don't have much of a left brain, and you do need a left brain to work the business. With great difficulty, I managed to corporatize it in certain level, and that basically gave me the independence of what I really want to do. And we're very fortunate. We live in a place like Dubai, which obviously has the resources / it's very easy to get around. And there are a lot of individuals who have actually supported me. So I don't really do these fundraising drives, but I do manage to get a lot of support. So currently I'm working in Afghanistan, and this is again, you see, places with conflict regions, what happens as an artist, typically you go there and you make these great films and do your art and photography and all that, and then you take that and you go and show it in the Dubai and New York and London and rest of the world. But do you really do anything back for the community? How do you sensitize that population who you are really getting this work out of? And that's, I think, really important, because I have seen a lot of award-winning material, but very, very little bit goes back. And so what we are attempting out here is, as you know, the entire conflict in these areas is, to get any society down finally, is to cut down the education. You start blowing up schools and, putting that scare in parents so they stop sending children to schools. So, and then also the trouble is literacy is very low in a lot of these places. So what I have basically we've been working on is, working on public art projects in Kandahar, in Kabul, bunch of places in Afghanistan. And the idea is really to keep minimum amount of words, because obviously you're talking to a population which not necessarily is literate in whatever that literacy means in our modern world. So what we have done is we have basically been taking pictures of kids, and it's like part of a photography workshop. And what do children want to be when they want to grow up? So it's a very small, it's not rocket science, it's just a small little idea, where we've got these little blackboards, and in Pashtun, in their own language, in Farsi, they write what they want to be, teacher, doctor, whatever that is. And we've done these portraits, and now I'm basically working with Aga Khan Foundation in Kabul, because they have put a lot of money in reviving some of the heritage buildings. As you know, Afghanistan has amazing history and heritage and architecture. So what we are doing is we're taking these portraits and we are basically wrapping up these buildings, which, just imagine whatever 2-3 floor building which has this little kid standing there with whatever the child wants to be. So what you are basically tackling is, one is you are doing a direct communication, it's keeping the language very, very simple, and also you are reaffirming that the children have to go to school, because there's always scare, like what happened in Peshawar 2 days back. So, there's always, politics always going to run through, but I think it's really important that keep the communication very basic and, connect to that population what you really are interested, because see, policymakers are plenty. They will do a lot of work, there are NGOs, there are all kind of organizations out there, But I personally feel that as a creative person, if you put a little bit of your headspace in there, you can actually have great solutions, and you don't need to create rocket science out of it. You don't need millions of dollars and all that stuff. And I think art is a very amazing soft platform. It connects people at every level. So, this is a little message you put in that art of yours, and hopefully it works,
I've got another question. If we've got a group of people here who are in a variety of different professions, and if they were looking at what you're doing, and if you could offer them that nugget of advice on how to start, because I think many people are looking at what you're doing, looking at where it's gone to, and thinking in their own minds, okay, I want to do something. How do I start? What first step, looking back at your career, would you say this is how you can start to give back or get involved or?
Yeah, well, I think the biggest advantage today is technology. Everything is possible. You can research stuff. You can go on the net and you can see what is really required, and you don't have to go stand in the same line where already 1,000 people are doing the same stuff. So I think I think technology really helps. And the next step I would say is that start connecting. I mean, we all have different whatever our missions are. I think you can start connecting with non-NGOs or independent organizations through the net, and you can actually spend. You can go and spend your weekends in whatever that community is. That's how I started. I started working, of course, I'm 100 years old, so I've been doing it for a long time. But if you work with, NGOs, they can really help you go through a lot of that unnecessary research and all that stuff. You don't have to work in isolation. And you can also do, if you don't get the time to get out of your work or, out of town or whatever, you can do a lot of work on the net with fundraising. You can help in, if somebody is doing some crowdfunding, if you find that organization is something which you want to support, get on with that and start doing the social marketing or media or whatever that is, because what you are doing is you're giving your time finally. It's not always about you got to get lost in the middle of somewhere and trying to teach some obscure school somewhere, So I think it's just a matter of giving your time finally,
Hi, good morning. Thanks for sharing. What's next? So what's your next project? As we look forward to the new year, 2015 coming in, what are you going to be working on next?
Yeah, I think this, as I said, the Afghanistan thing is the real battle right now, because obviously very short on funds, So I'm trying to develop support here in Dubai, creatives who can give me some inputs in helping the design, or let's say even the printout which we need to do, wrapping up these buildings and all that stuff. So right now it's winter, peak winter, so next 2 months we are not doing anything there. But come end of Feb, we'll be back out there. So if anybody wants to come to Kabul, please do.
Do we have any other questions? Any observations? Any comments? I do have one more.
Yes.
You're looking at all this, and it's all really positive. Looking back, anything you would do different? Anything you would, if you could go back in time?
Not really. I was miserable at studies, so I can't think of any other option. I lived in, my father worked in about 20 countries, so we lived in many parts of the world. And I went through about 14 schools and unis and art school and film school and design school. But I don't have a single paper to prove it, because I kept dropping out every one semester or every second semester. So I'm a very good example of failure, if I may say that. I think also I wasn't really driven by, when I came to Dubai, obviously I was in my early 30s, and I really wanted to create this nice little empire of a communication company and all that stuff. But it took a little while. I realized it's not my bag. You need to, and also I think what happens is it becomes a big struggle. You see, there are people who are very fortunate who can do the balancing act. That one side you work for an oil company, and then other time on the weekends you go and teach in some rainforest. So people can do that. I have a big trouble in my head that I cannot justify it after a point. And it gets very, very difficult. You know, I mean, I'll give you a good example of this Bhopal box. You know, it's a 40-foot container. We're trying to bring it to Dubai, hopefully next year. It's a total public art project. Corporates don't want to touch it because, you know, obviously I'm telling the corporates that what they've been doing with this entire, you know, irresponsible behavior with larger communities. So, you know, so I really got stuck. And I think you might find it very stupid, but I sold my apartment because I couldn't afford it, you know. But then, you know, it'll come back. I'm sure I'll buy one more someday. So it's really having a passion for it rather than, you know, just doing commercial. Because I also feel that, you know, art can't be just decorative. It can't be just, you know, these beautiful things. There are plenty of those. But I think art should be really for a larger social change. And social change doesn't mean that you have to become an activist. You can do it in very small ways, you know.
Fantastic message there. And Sally's standing in the back. We're going to have a talk with Mohammed Abdullah and see if we can't put that container outside here for one of our Creative Mornings events. I think you've got a lot of room, so I think we can do that.
Yeah, you know, funnily, I had in 2001, when Media City was just about started, I think, I had my first exhibition in this space here because Alcoas didn't have any galleries. And then there were the conventional galleries, which obviously I didn't really fit into. But that was black and white portraits, and it was amazing. You know, Sheikh Mohammed was walking around. It was just a very different world at that time. So I have great connection with this space. Yeah.
I know time is ticking. I really do want to thank you, Samar, for joining us this morning, and thank all of you for coming out and being part of Creative Mornings. Spread the word, please.
Thank you. Thanks very much. Yeah.